And we'll go back to our guy. And we're going to make him even more fancy than he already is. So we're going to Alt-tap him, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate him off. I'm going to hold down Control, and we're going to mask lasso, and we're going to mask out a little shirt for him. So I'm going to go to solo mode, go to the side, and he's obviously seen better days. So I'm going to maybe put a little shirt on him this way, and then go to the side here, and we'll put a little shirt on him this way. So this would be, like I said, a skin tight shirt. If it was a loose shirt, I would just be doing it in Marvelous Designer. We'll go ahead and give him a shirt like so. Let's go ahead and Alt drag here. He's kind of got a weird shaped neck. Like I said, he's hurting a little bit. So I'm gonna hold down Control. We'll go back to Mask Pen and we'll clean this up a little bit. If we want this to kind of dip down in the back, we can just unmask this. And if we want to sharpen up these lines, just hold down Control Alt, and that'll sharpen up those mask lines. You can also go to your masking menu. And then back here in the back, we'll just go ahead and unmask here. So now I've got a little shirt on him. I'm going to go to polyframe here, turn off our line. If I hit Control W, that'll give us a poly group for just a shirt area. Control Shift click to isolate that, and then we're just going to geometry modify topology delete hidden. Again, if you want this menu along with me, you can go to my Gumroad page, scroll to the very bottom, you can install that. Earlier in the episode, we installed that, just putting in our Z startup. So anyway, we'll go ahead and put our lines back on. So this is a very dense mesh. We're going to go ahead and simplify this down. So let's go down here to our ZRemesh. And we're going to do target polygon of 5 is fine. Adaptive size, we can just drop that all the way down to 0. We just want nice even quads. We don't need to keep groups or anything. And we have X turned on, so it'll be symmetrical across the X-axis. And we'll ZRemesh this. So this is going to go from 827,000 points down to 5,000-ish. And I'll take another look at that. So there we go. Okay, so that's down to our 5K. If we want to keep lowering this, all we got to do is just, I mean, you can do half, or you can type in another poly count here. We're going to do half ZRemesh, half, half. Go down as low as you feel comfortable with. And now that we have this, we can see that, okay, there's our shirt area. If we go into transparent, you can see it a little bit better. We're going to be making this thicker, but before we do that, because right now what we can do is we can go ahead and just do QMesh, polygroup all, and we can just pull out a thickness. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a shirt, I get it. But I really don't want to deal with these inside edges. That just is going to be a pain for me. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cap all these holes. You can just run a close holes if you want to, but I'm going to go through here and I'm just going to cap them. So close convex hole, and we're just going to cap these like so. Because again, I don't want to deal with inside skin thicknesses. Now, if I want to make these all one polygroups, I'm going to Control Shift click those and then Control W. Okay, so now at this point, what we can also do is go into our geometry crease menu, and we can do a crease PG. So as I subdivide this thing, it'll keep these nice and crispy. However, if we turn off solo, you're going to see it is kind of still sitting inside his body. So I'm going to hover over this face here, and we can hold down Shift. Well, we don't have to hold down Shift. If you want to just Q-mesh this out, you're going to see it's going to Q-mesh and also leave a ring here. If you just want to move it along its surface normals to start Q-meshing out, hold down Shift, and that'll just kind of push along its surface normals there. And now we can start making some slight variations here. Like we can pull this down here. And you could also move this stuff around before you committed to capping or skin thickness or anything like that. But I think that'll work. And we'll go down here. We'll make this not quite such just a little belly shirt. There we go. This is also pretty, like I said, pretty skin tight. You can even still see his muscles kind of built in. If you wanted to smooth that a little bit, you can just isolate this poly group here. So you're going to see we're just going to isolate this. Now again, if we do polish by features open circle, it's just going to like polish the heck out of this. So in this case, what I might do is instead of doing a polish, you could do polish close circle and just tap it. And that'll just kind of polish it a little bit. Or more likely, I would go down here to the deformation menu. Let's do a quick save. And I would do a smooth. So you can just kind of drag this up, and that'll kind of smooth out your geometry a little bit. It'll update as you go, so you can kind of just dial in exactly how smooth you want it. And that'll be a little bit more realistic. So now we can go through here, and we can go into our clay brush or inflate brush or whatever we want to do. We can kind of just make this fit on the outside. So why am I doing all this? I'm doing this so I can do UV master. We're going to get a little bit fancy with our patterns here. So we'll UV master this real quick. Alrighty. So we've got this. So now remember, I did go in here and I did do a crease polygroup. So as I start subdividing this, we can get some more detail. You can hit D to see what it's going to preview, but I want to sculpt on that. So I'm going to go out of preview mode by Shift D, and then we're just going to hit Divide or Control D. Now we can go through here and we can start adding a little bit more detail, putting in where your wrinkles want to go. Let's go ahead and get rid of that frill real quickly. So I Alt tapped it, and then I'm just going to tap the eyeball just to turn that off. And now I can start sculpting this. This looks a little bit iffy. I'm going to kind of pull this out. Now again, if you wanted to like see inside of there, one thing you can do, let's delete higher on this one. So what we can do is like, okay, we'll keep these things capped, but maybe this one we want to have a little bit of an inset area. So we can go over here to Inset, Polygroup All, Region, and we can kind of pull this in. I'm going to pull in one more, and then I'm just going to go to QMesh Polygroup All. I'm going to push this down and then hold down Shift. Now those push along those surface normals again. So now we can have kind of an inner lip. That'll kind of work. Again, if you want to make that thinner, just go along here and then hold down Shift and just kind of, again, push along that surface normal, and that'll kind of thin that out for you. So that'll look a little bit more t-shirt-like from that view at least. And still allow you to not have a bunch of inside wasted faces sitting in there, but it'll still give the illusion that there is some depth through there. Okay, so we've got that, and now I suppose we could just do another crease by polygroup. That's under your geometry crease menu, and now hit Control D, and that'll give us some real subdivision levels, and then we can go through here and start detailing this up a little bit. So standard brush, we're going to kind of cut in, and we can kind of cut through here. And I'm not going to put in seams yet because we want to get to a higher resolution before we start playing with that. Also, when you're doing cloth, you probably don't want to have symmetry turned on. You know, symmetry on cloth tends to not be perfectly symmetrical, obviously. So kind of play around that. To save some time, sometimes what I'll do is I'll do asymmetrical sculpting along the center here. And then I'll go hit X again. And when I'm up here in the corner areas, or I'm on the sides here, and then I'll just sculpt symmetrically along here. We'll just say keep hitting Control D, and I'll keep inflating these areas up. I'm going to my Flate brush here. If you want my hotkeys too, not that you would need them, but those are also on my Gumroad page if you wanted the custom menu as well. If you want to, you can also go in here. The standard brush, if I go into my stroke lazy radius, it's turned on to 1. I'm going to crank that up just a little bit, maybe to like 18. And now we can go through here, and we can start kind of pulling across here, a little bit smoother strokes. And then going back here and smoothing this out as well. So just kind of building up the details on this guy here. But again, not getting into the seams yet, because if I start diving in seams, if I go into like my Damien standard brush and I put a seam in here, I'm going to have to do a lot of cleanup work to make that nice and sharp again. So I'm just going to leave those alone until my resolution gets high enough to where I'm comfortable. Let's go ahead and crank up our intensity just a little bit here on our standard brush here until I get ready to kind of start diving into that. And again, the arm wrinkles, I could turn X symmetry back on, but we're just doing a really quick job here. And then neck wrinkles, I suppose we should add some of these. And wherever there's going to be like stress across, you know, these gigantic traps here, we can actually go through here and make sure that this is pulled out so it's a little bit straighter. If you really wanted to, you can go in here with H polish and hold down Alt, and you can just pull that out along the surface normal like that as well. And that'll ensure that, you know, as you're stretching this cloth across here, it'll be a little bit straighter. And just go in there with your move brush and all that good stuff. So again, we're just going to keep subdividing this up and going through here. And we'll go ahead and just keep adding these wrinkles. You can go into your Damien standard brush as well, like I was saying, and you can get a little bit deeper cuts through here. And if I'm doing any sort of cloth stuff, like tight t-shirt reference, and like look up like some Under Armour shirts or just any sort of tight cotton t-shirt, and you'll get really, really good reference. I'm not bothering to do that now, obviously, but if you're doing this for real, reference on cloth, never hurt anybody. And this guy's got kind of an awkward body too. He's got very tight armpits. I would probably do a slightly raised arm A pose for cloth. Looking back, he wasn't wearing a t-shirt. He actually had just like a cloak over him, like a rainy day kind of cloak on him. In fact, if you want to, oh, you know what? Let's see if this loads up any faster. Let's see. This will be, let's see, log in here. Don't know why that had to have sound. There we go. So me, Pavlovich. So here's some stuff. Here's the commander. We'll just check him out real quick. So while he's loading up, we'll go ahead and finish up this. And then once you get, and then we can also switch over to smooth stronger if we want to. For you guys, that'll be under your light box. So hit comma, go to the smooth tab. Under the brush tab, smooth folder, and then smooth strong will be in there. That's also under your smooth options. We go over that almost every live stream, where if you just go into your brush options underneath the smooth modifiers, as we can find more of that. So now at this point, I could feel comfortable, and I'll go ahead and hit X to go across X symmetry here, and then we could go through here. Also, another thing you could do is just go ahead and do uncrease all, and then when I hit Control D, that'll kind of soften out those transition edges on those creases. If you want to, you can also go in here with your smooth brush and just knock those back so they're not quite so crispy. And then you can go in here and start putting in your seams like this, and on this one as well, go into your stroke lazy radius and just put in these seams. You want to tighten those up, you can go in here with your pinch brush and just tighten those up. And you could do even fancier seams just by doing a roll. So if we go in here to brush, and we go to, let's go 4 here. What am I looking for? Weave, LMNOP, or stitch. There we go. Something like this, you could just do, let's change that Z intensity up. There we go. So you get to get as fancy as you want with your seams, but we'll just go ahead and stick with Damien standard here. Oh, okay, so here's our guy. So this is what I was talking about. It's not really a shirt. It's kind of a cloak that goes over his arm, and it's got straps on there, like so. And then he's got his little patch here. This was textured in Painter, modeled in ZBrush. This was for Substance Days last year. First annual Substance Days. There's his gun arm here. I do have this guy all recorded, so if you want to make these boots, you can go to my YouTube channel, ZBrush or Gumroad page. There's a tutorial that'll walk you through the boots, and it also has like a JPEG you can follow along step by step. But most of the stuff is pretty rudimentary here. You know, you want to make sure your UVs are laid out. This is all done in Painter, all that good stuff. So you can go check him out on my Sketchfab page, as well as a bunch of other stuff. This is all done in Painter as well, so you can see like the paint on there with the paint splatter and stuff, and the